Hi, it's the 17th of October 2010. You're listening to Bernie Goldbach, who's watching Richard Gere, who stopped in San Bernardino, California back in the 70s with a photographer friend, Herb Ritz. And they shot this photo. Richard Gere went on to bigger things. Herb Ritz is in retrospective mode right now. You can see images like these in Spectrum magazine, the Sunday Times, or at herbritz.com. The Golden Hour is published by Rizzoli, and you can see lovely bodies. Wonderful composition. All online in Spectrum. It's the Irish Time, or the Sunday Times magazine, sold in Ireland, or go online for it. I'm looking at two papers today. One Sunday Business Post talking about the heat that's going to be behind the ministers as they plan to cut budgetary offers, and on the Sunday Times you can see what the EU is doing, stepping up pressure on party chiefs. The EU wants Ireland to work together. So says Stephen O'Brien and Sarah McInerney on the front page of the paper. This is a short review of the Sunday papers because I have stuff to do concerning visitors in the House. The benefits are online, says Pat Leahy. The front page of the Sunday Business Post. Cuts to all welfare benefits are being discussed. It's going to be painful, and if you're going to take me as any kind of a source, you can bet there's going to be protests on the streets. The Guards and the Irish Army have been told to stand up on alert. Welcome to Namaland. Good story by Ian Keogh about the inside story of NAMA, where it's leading. In terms of recovery, folks like Paddy Chauvelin, who NAMA has secured a €38 million judgment against, has to pay up, or has to have some kind of a cash flow to pay up over time. The plan for NAMA: target developers to prove their financial viability, and then get people to cooperate, like Paddy McKillen, cooperate with the NAMA process. So instead of making people declare bankrupt, the Irish government's taken this unique twist called NAMA. Some people would argue in the capitalistic society that we're all part of, and in capitalism that started this property boom in Ireland, capitalism should have been allowed to run its natural course, and bankruptcies should have been things that followed. There's no bankruptcy here. Local solutions to national problem. That's Mag and then Gerard Kerwin of Goats Bridge Trout Farm in Thomastown, along with Keith Bohanna and Jeremy Lally, chairman of Savour Kilkenny. It's a big thing that's happening in Kilkenny. They get, Jesus, almost a whole page here in a local news focus of the Sunday Business Post. Food camp. Tina Marie O'Neill writes a story. Good story all about the idea of food, local production, and camp. An event we'll probably go to on a Friday coming up soon in Kilkenny. Details: Savour Kilkenny is what you Google. Into the technology section, Adrian Weckler points out 3 strikes rule is dead, or as we know it. He also highlights the Windows 7 smartphone. Good stuff on that phone. Xbox Live, music using Zoom, a small amount of apps. Here's what I'm saying. Windows 7 phone. It's clearly innovative. It is actually the real Facebook phone. Use it for a while. Gosh, you're going to find out that it certainly has a lot of powerful integration to Facebook. Adrian also points out something I've circled. Sales of Android devices are going to overtake sales of iPhones. And that's important, especially when you consider in Ireland, this little BitBuzz announcement. That BitBuzz recorded 100,000 monthly logons for the first time in the month of September. It's tied into the iPhone deal, so it'll be interesting to see how that trend line works next year when more Android phones are sold than iPhones in Ireland. Will it affect the BitBuzz activity in their hotspots? Towards the back of the paper, Sunday Business Post is saying it's time to turn up the heat on state companies. See, a lot of these companies like Bord Gáis or the Electricity Supply Board, they report a profit, pay off their executives handsomely. Like our Irish Rail right now, profits are steady, but what's happening behind the scenes is senior executives are being given really decent top-ups to their salaries without calling it a salary increase. They're allowed to move up an increment scale. And, time's coming to either reduce some of the layers inside those state companies or to cut the costs of what they charge to the average consumer. Some shortlisted companies here. Dick O'Brien writes a story, and this is Deloitte's best managed companies. Deloitte points out these that I've circled, and my question is, I wonder if they use Twitter. There was a big gig there in Dublin last night with the Irish Web Awards. I'm not sure I saw any of those guys on any kind of list or even in the audience. Some might have been out there watching this Facebook movie. Social Network, Cosmo Landsman says, is a great insight. The Facebook itself, valued at $33 billion. Landsman says, it's really a good film about setting up an internet site, part genius and part jerk. That's Zuckerberg. Inside the in-gear section of the Sunday Times, let Kindle fire up your inner author. Ed Chipperfield gives this little 8-step process. If you're going to write the masterpiece and you want to stick it up online through Amazon, 8 simple details, starting with dtp.amazon.co.uk, desktop publishing. And choose your price point. You can get up to 70% of the profits if you follow the Amazon recommendations. Mark Ty says, one of the things you may want to cut back is the amount of unvouched expenses for elected politicians. TD's hit the mobile phone jackpot is his point. Interesting little sidebar here, that a lot of the money, for almost €250,000 in the past 7 years, went to Mary Coughlin's brother's communications company, Millennium Communications Cellular. €9,500 spent in basically unvouched phones, or unnecessary phones. Well, everybody needs a phone, don't they? But do you need one every, 18 months? Paid for by the taxpayer? Not sure. Here's an interesting point of view. Under the news section, Ethan Shortnall points out, tourist trade puts faith in holy sites. So Foster Ireland's trying to sell the Northwest for heavenly trips for spiritual travelers. I think it's an innovative touch. We're doing some small things with graveyards. Stay tuned to my WWW Inside View blog for details. Time for all of us to share the strain, says Damien Kybert. Familiar little point of view. He's pointing out that we actually should have a universal social charge. In my back garden, that would mean maybe charging some of the guys that run down this road at high speed with more money out of their pockets at source. And his point is, a nation that allows between 45% and 50% of the working population not to actually pay for the state and its social services is wrong. Damien says it's an emergency, baby. It's like being in a war. But a lot of people just don't see it that way. Time for all of us to share the strain. I'm with Kybert on that. And looking forward to some of the street action. Jennifer Connell, in the agenda section, it's a magazine of the Sunday Business Post, points out there's growing concern that homework really isn't paying off for primary school kids. And she points out the homework myth by Alfie Kahn debunks one by one theories banded about in the support of homework, like it doesn't really boost achievement, it doesn't really make people study better, that, overall achievement and homework, the connection is zero. Good point of view. And she also points out some other research about a 10-minute rule, about how much homework you should be imposing on kids. So children 10 minutes per grade. And by the time you get to where I am in third level, maybe an hour of homework a night. But I don't think guys are actually doing that. Here's what I point out. You have to allow grazing and good diligence and speed tests to come all together. And sometimes academic grazing happens when you expose people to linked lists and things to look at and things to do. And I think a kid becomes more diligent, a young person becomes more diligent if you're asking them to do some homework. Now surprisingly, this off-message Jen, she's Jen O'Connell on Twitter, story about educational value in homework is the same one that's in Think Tank. Except Pat Goff wrote this one. He's the president of the Irish Primary Principals Network, and his point is maybe we should spend less time in formal teaching of Irish, maybe teach physical education through the Irish language, and make sure we teach culture with drama, songs, music, stories, fun things for kids to do. For me, I'm going to spend my time cleaning up the rest of my patch here. The very last tomatoes are going to be harvested because we had some frost this morning. From my back garden to wherever you are, you can see what I'm doing on flickr.com/photostroke Irish Eyes. You can listen to me on audioboot.fm at topgold, and that's what I do. I tweet as topgold on Twitter. Thanks a million for stopping by. See you next week from my back garden in Cashel County, Tipperary, Ireland. Bye for now.